May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. So, Canadians get to have a very special relationship with the seasons of Lent and Easter. When Lent began, the world we knew was frozen solid. The internet allows you to watch old weather forecasts for some reason. So I watched the weather forecast for Ash Wednesday, and it was a high of -10 and a low of somewhere below 20. Lent in Canada is freezing. We lose our flowers, we lose all of our birds, everything seems to become colorless. The air loses all its moisture, which means we don't really smell anything outside except if a generous soul has lit a fire in the fireplace. We are told to fast during Lent, but the reality is, even if we make the choice not to fast, if we live in Canada, we are fasting. We walk less, we go outside less. Many of us are nervous to go outside because of the ice. We also did some wonderful things as a parish during Lent. Every week we seemed to fill the bin outside to the brim, which was, we fasted together, and we saved money on our groceries, and the money that we saved, we spent on groceries for other people, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome to see that bin full every single I think it was full after Sunday. It was always empty when I arrived in the morning, and full by the end of the service. And I went out, and it was really a proud thing, I think, for all of us to have given some stuff up for Lent. That was very important stuff. But even if we didn't, Canada would make us fast anyways. And the same thing happens to us at Easter time. Even the Holy Week started out kind of cold. Good Friday and Maundy Thursday were kind of cold and cloudy. And yesterday and Holy Saturday, it was sunny and beautiful, and I think it's even warmer today. And I went out for a walk to sort of figure out what I was going to say this morning, and I was walking down this path, and people all had ridiculous smiles on their faces. And there were these two teenage guys that were biking past, literally singing. I don't know what they were singing. They didn't have headphones in their ears. They were just singing a song as they biked along. And there's something wonderful about that. Even if Easter's not your thing, or if you don't celebrate it, we can all celebrate in the changes of the seasons as we start to hear birds again, and bikes and dogs smelling all the things. And I saw my first sighting of flip-flops yesterday. But then we have this thing called the resurrection, and we have this thing called Easter, and it's sort of completely weird and strange, and to be honest, completely outside of all of this seasonal change we know so well. There are so many cycles that we experience as people on earth. Light and darkness, winter, spring, summer, and fall, hot and cold, life and death, war and peace, joy and despair, laughter and tears. The world that we know it as people here on earth is filled with cycles. And something happens when Jesus walks out of that tomb. And God has been saying this to us over and over and over again. And Jesus kept saying this to us over and over again when he said, I am the light, there is no darkness. I am the life. God is saying to us that in God, there are no cycles. In God, there are no seasons. There is no light and darkness in God, just light. There is no war and peace in God. There is peace, peace with justice. The scriptures say that there are no tears but laughter, no despair but joy, no death but life. And it's difficult for us to wrap our heads around on a day like Easter because we're so used to cycles and seasons, especially as Canadians. We're like, well, that's how the world works. For many of us, that's how we would describe what it means to be a human being. To be human is to be one of the only animals privileged with the knowledge that one day we're going to die, right? That's how we often define what it means to be a person. And we all carry this. A lot of people carry this very heavily. Some of us try to ignore it. Some of us descend into apathy or despair and say, whatever, who cares? Some of us, burdened by the weight of death, try to frantically live every moment as a special moment because death is just around the corner. We've encountered sometimes, maybe we've been like this, and we encounter these people. That's a very exhausting way to live one's life if everything has to be a special moment because we're haunted by death. But God says, no, that is not the defining characteristic of what it means to be a human being in this world. To be human is to live. To be human is to love, to feel joy, to seek peace. That is who you are, God said to us. And God said, you don't seem to get it, so I'm going to send my only son. And he's going to live a life filled with compassion and love and joy. And he's going to show you what it means to be a person. To be a human being on this world is not to be haunted by death and despair. It is to live and love. And we're here this morning because even if we don't see it, we yearn for it. We sense it. We sense it in the love that we share for one another. We feel it in the lives that we live. There is hope in our hearts that we dream is true. That is the joy that we share this morning. That God has called us to be people. And to be people in this world is not to be haunted by death, but to be embraced by love and life and joy. To be human is to recognize that the great and wonderful things that we share as people do not die but live in God through Jesus. That's the message of Easter this morning. So I encourage you all to celebrate with me and with each other the joy of Easter, the joy of being people in this world, called upon by God to love, to have faith, to seek peace, to live life with the full knowledge that the life we live is a life in the resurrection. An everlasting life. Amen.